5 signs that the housing crash is escalating a lot faster than many of the experts had anticipated, by Michael Schneider, Economic Collapse blog. The U.S. housing market is absolutely imploding, but nobody should be surprised. In fact, we were warned way ahead of time that this would happen. When the Federal Reserve told us that they would be aggressively raising interest rates, we all knew that this would do the housing. This is what would do to the housing bubble. It was obvious that the home prices would fall, home sales would plummet, and home builders would get absolutely crushed. Sadly, that is precisely what we're witnessing. But instead of reversing course after witnessing all the damage that they've caused, the Federal Reserve officials are insisting that even more rate hikes are necessary. So as bad as things are right now, the truth is that they are going to get even worse in the months ahead. In recent days, we've gotten some new data points, and they are sobering. We have not seen numbers like this since 2008, and we all remember what happened back then. Yes, just about everyone expected that the housing market would slow down, but hardly anyone thought that things would get this bad so soon. The following are 5 signs that the housing crash is escalating a lot faster than many of the experts had anticipated. Number 1, according to Redfin, the number of homes sold in the United States during September dropped by a whopping 25%. Home sales declined the most on record in September as mortgage rates surged and pushed prospective buyers out of the once hot housing market, according to a new report. A report from the real estate company Redfin shows the number of homes sold fell by 25% and new listings dropped by 22% last month, marking the biggest declines on record in both categories, excluding numbers at the onset of the coronavirus pandemic in April and May of 2020. And number 2, the number of new housing starts in the United States fell by 8.1% in September. Home building pulled back in September as buyers faced spiking mortgage rates and have made homes increasingly unaffordable. September housing starts, a measure of new home construction, dropped 8.1% from August and were down 7.7% from a year ago, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. After a big drop earlier this spring, housing starts had been holding relatively steady up until July, when rising mortgage rates spurred more prospective buyers to sit on the sidelines. Number 3, the number of buyers touring new single-family homes has fallen to a depressingly low level. Traffic of prospective buyers of new single-family houses plunged to the lowest since 2012, excluding the 2 lockdown months, April and May, and is now approaching even the levels of those 2 lockdown months, according to data today from the National Association of Home Builders. The NAHB, National Association of Home Builders, index for traffic of prospective buyers dropped to 25, about where it was in mid-2007, well on the way down into housing bust 1. Number 4, home builder confidence has now dropped for 10 consecutive months. The overall confidence of builders of single-family houses fell for the 10th month in a row in October as rising interest rates, building materials bottlenecks, and elevated home prices continue to weaken the housing market, the NAHB report said. With today's index value of 38, the NAHB Wells Fargo Housing Market Index is now nearly where it had been in May 2020 during the lockdown and below where it had been in February 2007 on the way down into housing bust 1. Number 5, demand for mortgages has plummeted to the lowest level that we have seen in 25 years. Mortgage demand, which has suffered 4 straight months of declines, fell last week to the lowest level since 1997 as interest rates continue to rise. Home buyers' demand for mortgages dropped 4% for the week and was 38% lower than the same week 1 year ago, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. Applications to refinance a home loan fell 7% compared with the previous week. In seasonally adjusted terms, demand was 86% lower than the same week 1 year ago. So if you want to thank someone for this giant mess, you can thank the officials at the Federal Reserve. They knew that the rising rates would cause chaos for the housing market, but they did it anyway because they are scared to death of inflation. But they actually played a major role in causing our inflation crisis. They should have known that pumping trillions of dollars into the financial system over the years would cause rampant inflation, but they just would not stop. Now they're trying to fix one crisis by causing another crisis. And in addition to absolutely crushing the housing market, they're also causing trillions of dollars in losses on Wall Street. In fact, the financial markets are on pace for their worst year since 1969. So far, in 2022, both the stock and bond markets have posted serious losses. To find another market that looks like this one, you'd have to go all the way back to 1969, according to data from BlackRock. The S&P 500 is nearly down 24% year to date, and the Bloomberg US Aggregate Bond Index has surrendered about 16%. Should both indexes finish the year in the red, it would be the first time that has happened in decades. If officials at the Fed keep hiking rates, the markets could go down a whole lot more. At this point, Bill Holter is warning that we could soon see, quote, a crash that will make 1987 and 1929 blush, end quote. In closing, Holter warns, the action you are seeing now is exactly what you saw in 1987, and this is what you saw in August and September of 1929. This is what happens prior to crashes. It's massive volatility both ways. People are losing both ways. The longs get stopped out on the downside, and the shorts get stopped out on the upside. Then the whole floor gives way, and that's where we are. We're right on the doorstep of a crash that will make 1987 and 1929 blush. Many people are going to lose everything overnight, end quote. Time will reveal whether Holter is right about this or if he's wrong, but without a doubt, it certainly would not take much to push us over the edge. Everywhere you look, economic conditions are getting worse, and the stage is being set for the sort of historic meltdown that I've been relentlessly warning about. If officials at the Federal Reserve had any sense, they would stop raising rates immediately. Unfortunately, they are not going to do that. So much more pain is coming for the housing market, and this new crash could ultimately be even worse than what we experienced back in 2008. It's finally here. Michael's new book entitled 7-Year Apocalypse is now available paperback and for the Kindle on Amazon. About the author, he says, my name is Michael Schneider. My brand new book entitled 7-Year Apocalypse is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I have written 5 other books that are available on Amazon, including Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, Get Prepared Now, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way you can help is by sending digital copies of gifts through Amazon to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I have published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished by dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. That's what I'm doing here now. And going back to the article, the material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is a great help. These are such troubled times, and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge that you ask Jesus to be your Lord and Savior today. This is by Michael Schneider on the Economic Collapse blog. I'll leave a link below for you. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.